Well, Texas is taking tough steps to keep protests from becoming violent and out of hand. Eyewitness News reporter Erica Zucco breaks down the governor's plan to keep our city safe.
The president says he plans to, quote, deploy the military to U.S. cities and states that don't activate the National Guard to, as he put it, quote, dominate the streets. Texas Governor Greg Abbott has already taken action, activating the National Guard and deploying other resources as well. That include FBI deploying tactical teams across the state, getting thousands of troops and 1,000 National Guard members ready, and sending DPS troopers to Houston, Dallas, San Antonio, and Austin in case they were needed. He also activated the Texas National Guard. He also announced, along with U.S. attorneys, that there will be federal prosecution for any non-Texas residents that are found to have done looting, violence, or, quote, destructive acts. Because of this heavy response, it's unlikely that the president would take any other measures in Texas. Now, here in San Antonio, both the mayor and SAPD clearly differentiated between the protesters who were peacefully marching through the streets on Saturday evening and a small group of what they called bad actors who were doing the destruction on Saturday night. Reporting downtown, Erica Zucco, KENS 5 Eyewitness News.